Welcome back to another episode of the Ali Show, a podcast from Bectran where we talk about real challenges that every credit and AR professional faces in the order to cash space. My name is Ali Kidwai. I'm the Director of Product and Implementation for Bectran. In this role, I work closely with our partners and customers to deliver these solutions. And we're very excited today to have Mr. Sajal here with us, Bectran's Senior Software Engineer, to discuss and dive deep into how we can engineer high-resiliency products for the order-to-cash space. Sajal, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, Ali, great to be here. So, as you already said, I work at Bectran as a senior software engineer. And the way I look at it is really two main responsibilities that I have. The first one being delivering high-quality products which help simplify the order-to-cash process for our customers, and other than that, making sure that their day-to-day tasks are running as expected and fixing any issues that they face as quickly as possible with minimum downtime.
Well, great to have you here. We're gonna get into this topic. What I want to get into today is basically helping our customers as well as the audience understand what it takes to sort of run a high-performing engineering department, but more importantly, what it takes to be able to ensure that the products that you put out in the order-to-cash space, what are some key elements of making sure that they're successful as well as scalable and resilient. So we'll get into that today.
Yeah.
I guess the first question is, what do you think engineering teams can do to make products more resilient at scale in the B2B order-to-cash space?
Yeah, so I want to start this off by saying that there's not really a one-size-fits-all solution for different kinds of software when it comes to scale. So it's always it depends on the software itself and what kind of processes you're running. Obviously, there's certain things that you can do which will work for everyone, such as having a powerful CPU, adding more servers in case of system failures. Those are the basics that anyone can do. But other than that, it really depends on what you're doing. So I can give you an example of something that we've done to maintain a good performance at scale, which is pre-computing some of the data that our customers need access to. So, and we only do this when it's possible. So you really have to decide when you can do this. So I want to say that live data is really needed in an ad hoc basis. So, for example, a customer wants to pay an invoice. You can't use pre-computed data for that because it could have drastic impacts. So in that case...
Inaccuracies.
Yeah. In that case, you can afford to compute live data because you're dealing with maybe 80 invoices max. And when it comes to large data that they want to see summaries, so in that case we use pre-computed data, and we make sure to only use that in cases where if the data is wrong, it won't cause huge amounts of losses to the companies. So and we can experiment more with in those cases. But yeah, that's something that we've done to achieve scale. And there's obviously other things, but as I said, it really depends on what kind of operations you're running.
Yeah, well, it depends on customers too. We have customers where we don't actually ever see this kind of problem just because of their volume.
Yeah.
And then we have customers where we have to account for this every day.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the examples, like what you said, right? If you're looking to sort of give somebody a dashboard or some analytics, right? It's fine to give some pre-computed data as long as you're being honest with them, hey, this data is as of. But if I'm trying to make some real-time decisions, if I'm trying to make a decision on a review, or I'm trying to make a decision on whether I should send this collection notice, or should I approve this order hold for release? Those are times where we can't be using pre-computed data at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So. It's a lot of. I guess it's not just an engineering sort of effort to figure that out. It's sort of a joint effort. But we'll get into sort of the product, how product gets built here, and what role does the engineering team play in that? Yeah. So just sort of going past that. What do you think are key differentiators of a good engineering team in the order cash space? What do you think? If somebody came in here and looked at us, what would they say are some key points or some things that really stand out for our team here?
Yeah, so from personal experience, I would say that one of the major benefits that we have here is that the close proximity to our customers. So there's been numerous number of times where we're dealing with a customer issue and we have direct contact with the customers and we know what kind of issues they're facing. So we're always in contact just as much as the product team with customer issues. So we know the impact that our code is having, and then it's easier for us to resolve those as well, because if we have any questions, we can just have quick contact with them and then resolve those right away. And other than that, obviously being in person, that's a big plus for us. So let's say I'm working on a project that I have any questions that someone else has specialized in, I can just walk up to them and ask them, and basically it streamlines the whole process instead of like me having to text someone and waiting like a whole day for a reply.
Yeah.
It just makes it easier.
One of the other things, I mean, that I can see from I can say from the product side is also, like what you said of being in the office, like it's always nice, or not nice, but it's like crucial to have, us work in a solution these problems in a room together. I think that's a key differentiator, as well as having close proximity with the customers. We'll get into that in the next question, I guess. In your opinion, what do you think, or how do you think engineering teams turn customer pain points into implementable solutions and product?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. So let's say that a customer has a problem that they're looking for us to solve. They're obviously talking to the product team. They explain the statement to them, and what we do from there is, as you know, we literally like go to the whiteboard in the office. We have a couple of developers, some product team members who know the problem, and then we literally draw out the problem statement and we discuss through the solution, we work through it. And one of the key factors is that we make sure we don't deliver like a specialized solution just for that one problem. We try to build like a solution that can always change over time, that we can add things to based on other customers' needs, which can be marketed as a product on its own. That's one of the key things, I think, that really helps us make our software usable by everyone.
Yeah, well, one of the things I'd like to add is, like what you said, right? You don't want to build a solution for, just for that customer. So, what I always say is like we have to solve the customer's problem in a way that works for us. So, it's actually very easy to just go and sort of duct tape some stuff. But it's actually much harder to build a generalized solution. But that's where the beauty comes, because obviously you can't. You need to make sure that the customer is happy, but we also need to make sure that we ourselves are scalable, in a sense where like we can deliver products, that sort of go past the customizations of a single customer, right? So that's very important.
Yeah. One of the key keywords that we always use is holistic.
Yes.
So, that's how we look at every problem, and I think a software is only as good as its ability to change over time. So we should always keep in mind that there'll be things added onto it. No software will ever stay the same over time.
Nice. One of the questions I always have, because I have to obviously sort of do performance reviews for engineers, and I have, me not being an engineer myself, sometimes I have trouble sort of assessing them. So what do you think makes for a good engineer, just as somebody that delivers product? Like, what do you think makes for a good engineer?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. There's first of all, I wouldn't say that technical ability and knowing a coding language is really the most important thing for being an engineer. Over time, I've seen that the most important aspect of being an engineer is how much you care about the product and how much you care about what you're writing. So the way I look at things is like I really try to take ownership of any product that I'm building. I like to keep my code as clean as possible and just try to deliver a solution that I would be proud of. And that's the way I look at any other engineer as well. So if I think they're just like writing software for the sake of it, that would be a red flag to me. And it really takes on a different meaning when you take ownership of the product. and it just works out best for the customers and for you yourself as well. So that's how I would define
a bit of care.
Yeah.
Well, what we should do, Mr. Sajal, I think for the audience is for us to sort of discuss some of our escapades together. Some of the dirty problems that we have solved. So let's start with some problems. So, the audience can understand what sort of things of scale we've dealt with.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can focus on is how do we ensure that we serve up data timely to our customers, all the different analytics and sort of the metrics that we have, and how we've been able to scale that, for some of our customers. Obviously, we can't take names. We will not take names here, but we can talk about how we've done that. So I think the first problem we can focus on is sort of the accounts receivable sort of metrics and how, sort of the problem that we faced on when we got some large customers and how we were able to scale that up. Could you just at a high level explain like what the problem was and then how we were able to scale it to meet the demands, as well as introduce what we now call priority processing. So, if you want to sort of get into that, just at a high level, try to make it as less technical as possible.
Yeah, so start with the problem statement. We're dealing with, just to give a background, we're dealing with hundreds of millions of data points here. So, and
sometimes billions.
Yeah.
Sometimes couple of tables, billions, you can't even like think about that, but.
Yeah, and what we have to do is we have to process everything overnight. So we can't really take a chance there in terms of like, if it barely finishes in time, that's not good enough. It needs to really just be done within like a certain time.
Yeah.
So that was.
And what's night for somebody is day for somebody else. That's another problem.
Yeah,
but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, that's also what we saw. Like, we started off by making this heavy process, which happens overnight, but then we see the system has effects on because of that as well. The system is slow during those times. So that was actually the main thing we were trying to solve, to make sure that the system is running at the same performance level 24/7. So to not get too technical, the way we solved this was experimenting. I would say it felt like we were in a science lab sort of. Every day we were deploying changes to production and literally just experimenting different things that would work.
And measuring.
Yeah, and measuring. Like every day it was just like after 5:30 we're in the office, we're just deploying code, trying to see what works, monitoring every day.
Yeah.
There were times when we messed up a lot of data as well.
But we rolled back.
We fixed that pretty quickly as well. So,
just for the audience, I mean, what he's talking about here is basically on our accounts receivable module is the ability to serve up dashboard and analytics, as well as compute all the data is required to make decisions on the AR side. So that's mainly like for collections, orders, disputes, cash application. So, that's sort of what he's talking about. And basically, you get to a point in your in your journey where when you have a lot of customers that no is not an option. We much rather just pack our bags and go home rather than tell customer that we cannot deal with their data. So, it was quite the journey.
Yeah.
A couple of months.
One of the things that I would say is we made sure that this process was resilient in the fact that, let's say one of the days, any unexpected thing goes wrong, like the server doesn't work as expected. We built it in a way so that the next day would correct itself, and it's just easy to compute this data anytime, no matter what. So that's essentially what went into the architecture. And if I just had to boil it down to like one sentence in terms of what we did to make it scalable, was really just improve the queries and make them less complex, and just really make it as simplified as possible. That's what we did.
We can go into some other sort of interesting work that you've done over the years. I think one of the things we can talk about is some of the integrations you've worked on. You worked on a very interesting bank reference integration. I know that was a request from marketing as well. A couple of ladies in the room here today. We won't take names, but if you want to sort of talk about that, why that was interesting to you. And then I also want to get into some of the other work that you've done around payments and sort of consolidating like parent account structure for payments for like the construction or other industries. So we'll get into that too. But yeah, if you want to sort of talk about some of the work you've done on integrations, how you have seen that work for the customer, especially on the bank integration side. And then how you went about sort of designing it, as well as how you were able to see the impact on the customer.
Yeah, so just to start off, the problem was that the customers had a bank reference process which was quite manual. So we wanted to simplify that, make it so that they can receive bank references instantly. So that was the problem statement, and the integration piece was quite interesting. It was a little different from what we had done before. It was a new process. And even in building that process, my main goal was to make it so that it's very generic, in the sense that if we have some other integration that we want to build after that, which is similar, it would be very possible to do so. And the process was really just designing the architecture in a way that we can easily connect those bank accounts and then instantly provide responses to the users.
Yeah.
And if something goes wrong, then they'll see that as well. And the most interesting part for me in this was seeing the response from our customers. So
Yeah.
I didn't realize how impactful this would be to them.
Yeah.
And to really see how much they liked the product and how much they were using it was a big plus. And that really made me feel like it's worth it working on these products.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons one of the things we were talking about before, right? Like, it's very important to see the impact of your work.
Yeah.
That's why, we have, we make sure that the engineers here are in constant touch with the customer. For anybody that's applying from an engineering perspective, please apply at hr@bectran.com. But yeah, that's very, that integration, was well requested. Was requested a lot by our customers, as well as we saw the impact right there.
But you thought they wouldn't use it?
Marketing forced us to do it. A couple of ladies are looking at me in this room, with suspicious eyes. Anyway, one of the other things I want to get into is some of the work that you and I and sort of the team has done around review automation, and sort of the interesting work we've sort of done. Just at a high level, we had some requirements from some customers to sort of build them, or at least be able to put into a review automation model some of the subjective work that they do. This work revolves around looking at the past payment trends for a customer over a given period of time, comparing that with the current month, and then sort of making a decision based on certain factors to generate a review or not. And then obviously on the other side, once the review is generated, going through the process to see if it should be approved or not. So it's quite complex work. Yeah. If you sort of want to sort of elaborate on that, as well as I'll take the blame for that. But how the requirements always changing on that one, that makes it obviously so easy for the engineer. It doesn't make it easy. That's a joke. But yeah, if you want to sort of go through that would be interesting for the audience.
Yeah. So that's probably one of the most complex projects that I've worked on in recent times. So to start off with, obviously we had a set of requirements, and it's like we built the whole product, and it really showed me how important it is to make sure that the software that we build should be changeable, because obviously it's understandable that a customer, once we walk them through the process, they realize something that they didn't before.
Or when they test.
Yeah, when they test, yeah. Obviously things can change over time.
Yeah.
So this whole review automation process was built so that it'd be easy to add things, and not just by me, like
by anybody,
by anyone, yeah. So we can always add things, whatever they want to it. And I think the best part about this product is that it can fit anyone's business needs. So they can add how many attributes they want to it, and they can set up the way they want to. They can set up any sort of like computation methods and everything, and the system will just work based on that and create the review for them on its own whenever they want to.
Yeah.
And obviously plug that into our other features as well, such as IDM,
which is our automation engine for everybody to sort of approve requests.
Yeah, it's just it's a very streamlined process, and the best part about it is just that it can fit anyone's needs, and they can configure as many attributes as they want. And basically, I think in the future also, I'm sure there'll be more things added on to it as we go through this.
I got a couple coming for you today.
They won't be done by me. But
I'm sure.
I'm sure whoever works on it will have an easy time. We just had someone work on it recently, and it's basically the new requirements already done. It was that easy to add stuff to it. Yeah.
Mm. He's kind of tooting his own horn, but that's good. Couple other things we want to say, we want to touch on, like in talking with customers, right? Like there are things that obviously me as a product person can sort of understand, like, okay, this is what the customer is looking for. But I've realized that sort of introducing engineers into the mix also helps catch my blind spots, right? Like there are things that I don't know. Not that I don't know, but I guess I can't think that way. You couldn't pay me like $1 million to think that way, right? Like I'm not sort of wired to think that way. So what benefit do you think that, like, and what things do you notice when you talk to customers? And how does that help you in sort of designing the solution from an engineering perspective?
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the major benefits that we have, that we're always in contact with the customers. I've personally also met some of our customers. So
large customers, big customers.
Yeah, I think that's really changed my perspective in the way I build these products. So I know the kind of solutions they're looking for. I know how they use the system. So I want to give an example that we had from last year. So we were trying to optimize our system for performance. We had some issues with that. So we have let's say we have a list of operating units, or we have like a list in reports or something. It's a large list.
Yeah, let's say branches. The list of branches.
List of branches, yeah, to select through. So what we decided to do was make it so that we don't show the whole list of branches, and they just have to manually search for the branches they want and select those. Let's say, for example, they're trying to run a report. They have to manually search and select. And that went through the product team as well. They thought that was okay. But later we realized, we talked to the customer, and the way they use it is very different from what we thought.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was funny.
So
that was really funny.
That really opened my eyes. Okay, we really need to think about how the customers use it. And I was on the email chains as well, so I understood okay, this is how they're using it, and then we basically built a solution around that, and I think that helped a lot as well.
Yeah, no, it's very important. I mean, sometimes even I have products that I've released that I don't know how customers use. Because the thing is, they won't tell you, right? It's this is not the kind of, we are not, I mean, at least in product or even engineering, it's nobody comes, wakes up one day and tells me oh, hey, Sajal, you're doing a great job. Or, oh, hey, Ali, you're doing a great job. Nobody gives you a little pat on the back. But when it's not working, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
So we got to be very cognizant of that. But that's been an interesting discussion. I think some parting thoughts, if you want to walk the audience through just sort of our deployment methodology, how sort of we take in requirements, how we organize them, how we put it on the roadmap, as well as how we deploy, as well as the speed of our deployments. Obviously, that's one of the reasons, or one of the things our customers have told us that that's been very helpful for them, that we're able to deliver solutions to them quickly, and that obviously comes from our sprints. So if you want to sort of touch on that a bit, at a high level, what that looks like, and why you think that has worked for our customers and for us.
Yeah, so in the space, obviously, speed is very important. Some softwares tend to get a little slow with their deployment times and how fast they can deliver solutions. So we really try to focus on maintaining speed and accuracy at the same time. There's no point in delivering a solution fast if it doesn't work.
Yeah. And deliver incrementally. That's also very important. Haven't we learned that, Mr. Sajal?
Yeah, incrementally, definitely. And again, I want to say that one of the reasons that we're able to deploy so quickly is having all the engineers in office, and so basically when someone's working on a specific problem, it's not just them working on it. There's been a lot of times where I go to their desk, they ask me questions, I ask them questions about my problems, and they know some things that I don't, and it just makes it much more streamlined and faster to deliver those tickets and just basically work on those solutions. Other than that, there's obviously things like planning, so planning out the softwares in like at least a 1 or 2 month time frame.
Yeah.
That helps as well. So
As well as tying that to a larger roadmap, over the next year
yeah,
or 5 years. Obviously, it's, I know, just for, like you said, right, like, it's never that it's been 2 months since the year started. Like what I started the year with in my strategy presentation in the year is not what's happening now. So we gotta sort of, obviously adjust course as needed. So
Yeah.
that's also very important for us to be able to be malleable and dynamic.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess I want to thank you, Mr. Sajal, for taking some time out of your busy day to come on the podcast. I hope the audience learned some items, as well as learned like how the engineering practice here works and how to build a good engineering practice for their own company in the order to cash space. As well as our audience, thank you so much for listening. We will be back with a new episode soon. I think our next episode is going to be a special episode for for when the team is traveling. So if you found this valuable, please subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else that you get your podcasts. We'll be posting all of the details in the episode description, as well as the show notes. So thank you, appreciate everybody, and we'll be back.